Hey guys, Derek here with Derek's All MMA channel doing my UFC 135 recap video. You know, good card. Of course we had two bummers on the card, which was expected, but overall I think we learned a lot, and let's get into it. First fight of the night, Takanori Gomi versus Nate Diaz. My prediction video, I said I didn't know which way this would go. I predicted Gomi by split decision. And I was completely wrong on that. Nate Diaz looked awesome. I think you got to remember this guy's only 26 years old. He's going to get even better, and I think he's better than his brother, maybe even right now. Nate Diaz looked very impressive. Everybody talks about those shots that the Diaz brothers throw, those little jabs, but they appear to be hurting people, guys. Nick Diaz hurt Daly, and Takanori Gomi didn't seem to like what Nate was landing on his face. Of course, when the fight, got to the ground, Diaz was going to submit him. But, let's give it up to Nate. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Cesar Gracie guys, but Nate Diaz looked good in this. Needs to stay at 155, no doubt about that. Next fight for Nate Diaz should be Sean Sherk. The Diaz brothers and Nate, especially, has had trouble with the bigger wrestler guys. Sean Sherk, good wrestler, good submission defense. If we want to know if Nate Diaz wants to be able to fight the top 5 guys in the 155-pound class, it's seen beat Sean Sherk. That's a good fight. Congratulations to Nate, even though I don't like you. Second fight of the night, Rob Broughton and Travis Brown. I thought this fight would end in the first round just because I thought these guys would just swing wildly and one of them would knock each other out. I predicted Travis Brown. Brown won the fight off athleticism and able to have the fight where he wanted to go. Not a very intriguing fight. It's kind of boring, probably the worst fight on the card. But nonetheless, Travis Brown got the win. Progression still going up in the division. I think a good fight for Travis Brown would be Brandon Schaub. I think that would be an interesting test for both of those guys to see where they should stand in the division. So Travis Brown, Brandon Schaub, make that fight happen. Third fight would be Mark Hunt being Rothwell. My prediction on this fight would Rothwell would probably just hold position for 3 rounds. Ben Rothwell looked good until the end of the first round, and the altitude got him, and he gassed out, and Hunt just had his way with him the last 2 rounds. Advice for Joe Silva in the UFC: when you're fighting in Denver, Colorado, or anywhere else in the world at this high altitude, keep heavyweights off the card. Do that for us. Do it for yourself. Good job for Mark Hunt. Let's give this guy some respect. He's came a long ways since, my arm. He's came a long way since he first started MMA. So, good job, Mark Hunt. The thing with Mark Hunt is he's not ever going to beat any great guys, and he really should never be televised unless it's a fight that ends quickly. So, let's keep Mark Hunt off the pay-per-view, but I'll say that he deserves to be a UFC fighter. On to the co-main event, Matt Hughes, Josh Koscheck. Fight went exactly how I thought it would go. Hughes came out with the jabs like GSP did, but the difference is he's not as quick, he's not explosive, his technique is obviously not as good as GSP's. And once Koscheck was able to catch him one time, that was all she wrote. No big surprise here. I think it is the career for Matt Hughes. Hopefully he calls it a career because I think he's done enough and it can only hurt his legacy by fighting more. I don't think he can help it out anymore. Koscheck, there's been talks of him going to 185. I think that's a horrible idea. Hopefully he'll decide to stay at welterweight where he belongs. I think Koscheck is in a weird situation, though, where, he's fought for the title, and it's just where do you need him to fight in the division? Ellenberger comes to mind. Ellenberger might be a good fight for Koscheck. There's many. I ain't going to have a fight prediction for Koscheck because there's so many different ways he can go, but the guy should only fight big names and only fight relevant fights in the division. I'll give it up for that guy. I'll give him that much. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. But Josh Koscheck, nice comeback win after his last performance to make himself relevant in the 170-pound division again. On to the main event, Jon Jones, Rampage Jackson. Now, I predicted Rampage to win this fight, and his inability to close distance on Jon Jones kept him from winning this fight. And we'll give it up for Jones by his ability to keep the distance from Rampage is what allowed him to win this fight. Obviously, he won by rear naked choke, but nonetheless, Rampage, he has that I'm going to stalk you down and throw 1 and 2 combo, throw 1-punch, 2-punch combo strikes, which just isn't effective. And he got to be a guy to beat Jon Jones has got to be able to close the distance on his reach. You cannot keep a distance with this guy. His reach advantage. You got to be able to get inside on this guy. And when they were in the clinch, Rampage never threw. He never threw anything. He never dirty boxed well, which kind of surprised me. We'll give Jon Jones this. He is a defending champion. I think he's overhyped, but I will give it up. He's a good fighter. To me, this solidified him as being a fighter. Jon Jones looked good. Let's not overhype this guy. He's not on Anderson Silva. He's not on GSP's level. Let's see him if he beats Rashad Evans, which I think is going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be an even bigger test than the Rampage fight. Then we could start talking about him being up there after he beats Lyoto Machida. Notice how the UFC is not throwing Machida's name out there to fight Jones, and there's a reason for that. All the guys who are in the business say Lyoto's the guy that beats Jones. Dana White's talking about Rashad obviously as the next fight, and he's talking about see what happens with Henderson and Shogun. Notice he's not mentioning anything about Machida. So when Jon Jones gets through Rashad Evans, if he does, and if he can get through Machida, then we can put him on that ladder with Anderson Silva and GSP. But let's see that happen first. He is the 205 champion, but he's not a god of MMA right now. That's Anderson Silva, and don't forget that right now. Guys, I'll be back Friday to do my predictions on the Versus fight card Saturday. Great free night of fights. Can't wait for it. Dominic Cruz defending the 135-pound bantamweight title against Demetrius Johnson. You might have to DVR that fight just so you can pause it and, watch the fight frame by frame because those two guys are quick as hell. Co-main event, Pat Barry, Stephen Struve, guaranteed finish to that fight. Anthony Johnson, Charlie Brandeman, it's a good fight. And then, of course, Matt Danzig and Matt Wyman, they never disappoint. So a good night of free fights coming up this Saturday night on Versus. I'll be back Friday to upload my prediction video on that. Other than that, hope you guys had a great weekend. Enjoyed the fights. Peace, guys.